UK warns Israel over risk of war crimes in Rafah offensive. Article by Arj Singh, Deputy Political Editor. Israel risks committing war crimes if it continues its latest offensive in Gaza without coming up with a credible plan to protect civilians sheltering in Rafah, the UK has warned. Keywords here: continue, credible and warned. And it's all regarding committing war crimes. Deputy Foreign Secretary Andrew Mitchell said he has been clear that there would have to be a plan which respected international humanitarian law. And we have not yet seen a plan. Keywords here: clear. There would have to be a plan which, another keyword is respected international humanitarian law. And clear statement here: we have not yet seen such a plan. A plan yet has not been seen. I understand that warnings have been echoed in private by British ministers and diplomats. Keyword here: warning, echoed. Continuation of the paragraph is: with the Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron in contact with the Israeli President Isaac Herzog and Foreign Affairs Minister Israel Katz. The UK has been cautioning Israel that a full-blown incursion in Rafah, where around 1.3 million displaced Palestinians are settling. Let's look at that figure again. 1.3 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering. Will make it harder for Israel to justify that its defense forces' actions are in line with international law. Key sentence here is displaced, and will make it harder for Israel to justify that its defense forces' actions are in line with international law. Everything within a capacity of the law always needs justification. Here they're saying make it harder for Israel to justify. Let's continue the next paragraph. Downing Street also stressed that Israel has a responsibility for ensuring that the civilian population is safe and has access to the food, water, medical care it needs, and that we've not seen any plans in relation to the Rafah incursion along those lines. The Prime Minister Rishi Sunak also said he was deeply concerned about the potential humanitarian, keyword here is deeply concerned. There. Let's repeat the few words. The humanitarian cost of an offensive around the city in the south of the enclave of Israeli forces seize control of the Gazan side of the Rafah border crossing with Egypt, a vital aid route for the territory. Lord Cameron and UK diplomats are also understood to have warned that incursion also risks the lives of dozens of Israeli hostages still believed to be in Gaza. Despite Mr. Mitchell coming under heavy pressure from MPs in the Commons to end arms sales to Israel and say clearly whether it was committing war crimes, the UK's, I'm going to repeat the previous few words, the UK's situation on defence exports to its ally remained unchanged. Let's repeat that. The UK situation on defence exports to its ally remained unchanged. even amid reports that the US is slowing planned deliveries of precision weapons to Israel. The diplomatic push for a pause in the fighting continued after Hamas said it had accepted an Egyptian, Qatari mediated ceasefire proposal, which Israel rejected because it failed to meet its core demands. In this newspaper, it would have been nice if they expanded a bit more on what the core demands were and maybe just publish them in a separate paragraph as well. Just for additional reading, that would be very nice. However, it's not there at the moment. We've just got the word its core demands. Foreign Office diplomats are believed to be split over hopes of a ceasefire deal, with little clarity on the status of negotiations. I've just read this article. Something's come to my particular mind regarding hopes with certain negotiations and deals where life and death is a situation where people and civilians need to be safeguarded and protected from harm, or war in which they have no say, and there's a war that's created which they have not provoked themselves. So here, split over hopes. I mean, every civilian hopes that there is hope, that somebody will come to help them. But here, even within the official Foreign Office, diplomats are believed to be split over hopes. So they've still got one thing which is called hope. In my personal opinion, hope is not good enough because you have to have key things written on a piece of paper with specifics that are laid out in clear writing. Hopes of a ceasefire when people are being killed. You can't say we're hoping for a ceasefire. No, there should be key, instrumental, fundamental talks that ensure or give a credible capacity for an individual to believe. Let's go away from the word hope, maybe the word believe, that a ceasefire can be negotiated and that a ceasefire could happen or will happen. If the diplomats are standing on a thing called hope, then it really brings into question what kind of negotiations are taking place. When people are being killed, they're being harmed, innocent civilians, then we need to move away from the word hope and we need to go towards what actually is being done. And these negotiations, there needs to be clearer transcripts, and clear dialogues that should be given to to the newspaper, so the public can see exactly what negotiations are taking place and what the dialogues are that are taking place, to show that an effort is being made to help the innocent civilians and save lives. There are concerns that the sticking point remains whether any ceasefire should be temporary or permanent. But there's also optimism that talks are ongoing. Ongoing talks. How many talks does it take to create a ceasefire? How much of manpower is needed to actually stop innocent people from being harmed? As within now, it says there are concerns that sticking point remains. There should be no sticking points. There should be facts, and it should be safeguarding things put in place, whether a ceasefire is temporary or permanent. I mean, a ceasefire is not a joking matter, because in this ceasefire, if a ceasefire happens, it's there for a reason. And another thing is that when innocent people are getting killed, you can't just let negotiations continue at such a length that people are still getting harmed. There has to be certain safeguarding, certain policies, certain constitutions, certain rights, certain rules, laws, regulations, judgments put in place to safeguard the innocent human beings at a time of war. But there is also optimism that talks are ongoing. talks need to produce results. What are the results that are being shown? Look at this paragraph here. We've got things like split over hopes, little clarity, concerns. You know, they're not even sure if the ceasefire should be temporary or permanent. Optimism. Talks are ongoing. How many talks does it take to come out with a specific result? Continue with the article now. The Conservative former Foreign Secretary Sir Malcolm Rifkind said a ceasefire was still possible, but conceded that there is little the UK can do to stop Israel from going ahead with an incursion. Let's repeat that. There is little the UK can do to stop Israel going ahead with an incursion. The UK has a lot of power, and for them to be issuing statements or even saying that a ceasefire was possible and then declaring that in general that there's little that the UK can do to stop Israel, that is absolutely alarming and extreme cause for concern after reading that one sentence there. Let's continue. If Biden cannot persuade, then nor would we, Sir Malcolm said. The Shadow Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, questioned whether the government believed an assault on Rafah could be a clear risk of a serious breach of humanitarian law, something which would trigger a ban on arms exports. There's a recent judgment that's come out as well, away from this article, regarding arms exports as well. Let's continue this article then. Speaking to MPs, he added, now, more than ever, we need an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages, and unimpeded aid to Gaza. There's one more bit in this article I need to read as well. 1 minute, it's a slight little quote paragraph. And this is, it says iNews here. The UK's view on the bombardment of Rafah so far as a potential precursor to an incursion rather than the start of a full-blown offensive. I understand. Repeat that once more. The UK's views the bombardment of Rafah so far as a potential precursor to an incursion rather than the start of a full-blown offensive. I understand. This actual whole newspaper article was on iNews, Wednesday, 8th of May 2024, page 11. And just to end the article, here's a picture of Andrew Mitchell. Said Israel must respect humanitarian laws. And just to repeat, this article was iNews, Wednesday, 8th of May 2024, page 11.